In my previous FNaF review, I didn't review Ultimate Custom Night due to it being a game for the fans instead of it being an actual FNaF mainline game. This got me thinking on another way I could talk about Ultimate Custom Night, and then it hit me. I can rank the characters. No, I'm not going to do it in a tier list format. I'm going to do it the old fashioned way and go from number 50 to number 1. So in this video, I will be ranking all the animatronics in Ultimate Custom Night and see which character is the best or worst to deal with. Before I start ranking, let's first set up a few ground rules I'll be going by. Number 1, I'm only reviewing the 50 animatronics you see on screen. I ain't counting the ones DD spawns or the Easter egg ones like Fredbear. And number 2, I will judge them through the uniqueness of the mechanic. But if the mechanic is the same with another animatronics one, I'll just judge the jump scares. Now that that's all said and done, let's begin the ranking. Golden Freddy is pretty much the worst and lamest character in the whole roster. Not only does he have the same mechanic as he had in FNaF 2, but his jump scare is a goddamn screen. That's it. Nothing else. Next. Funtime Chica is a pretty lame character as well due to the fact that she doesn't really have an effect on the player. Yeah, she disturbs you from what you're doing, but it wears off fairly quickly. It's pretty annoying how it can happen at random in my opinion. Plus she doesn't have a jump scare, so there's no real impact when she comes. But she isn't the worst due to being somewhat unique. El Chip is the same as Funtime Chica, except he can be stopped by skipping his ad. Other than that, there's nothing to say that I've already said before. Night Marion is here because of how much of an annoyance he is to the player. You have to try and avoid leaving your mouse above him for too long or else you get a jump scare. This is such a pain to deal with when playing. But he only appears in the office and not the cameras, which is a plus I guess. Also his jump scare is super weak. It's just a PNG image having a seizure in your face. The puppet has the exact same jump scare as Night Marion and has the same gameplay mechanic in FNaF 2, but at least his mechanic is more unique than Golden Freddy's is. Plus there is an addition to it, where you can use the automatic music box to stop him instead of winding it up manually. However, it depletes your power much more if you use it, so you wouldn't want to use it at all. But it still gets points for having some uniqueness to it. The next 3 animatronics are pretty much the same as they were in the previous game, them being Phantom Mangle, BB and Freddy. Phantom Mangle is the worst of the bunch due to her not having a jump scare, and Phantom Freddy is the best one out of them because he has a unique mechanic going with him instead of Phantom BB having the same mechanic from FNaF 3. However, I have to dock a lot of points on them due to their jump scares. The jump scares can't kill you due to them not being real. But even then, they're just lame because they're just PNGs. Rockstar Bonnie, while having a pretty unique mechanic, is super duper annoying. What you have to do is look for his guitar on the cameras whenever he appears in your office. And what makes it 10 times worse, it's that it's randomized, making the ordeal twice as hard to deal with. Toy Freddy is the exact same as Rockstar Bonnie, with the uniqueness yet high annoyance of his mechanic. Where Freddy's playing a FNaF style game on a monitor and you're trying to make sure he doesn't get jump scared, otherwise he kills you. But he gets a bit of a push up due to him not being as annoying as Rockstar Bonnie. Despite Trash and the gang having terrifying jump scares, they have to be positioned here since they pretty much have the same annoyance as Funtime Chica, where they can't be avoided. However, at least they have differences in their attitudes in the game, where Number 1 Crate and Bucket Bob will jump scare the player after some time, and Mr. Can-Do will take up 80% of the camera for no reason. Also, they're not super annoying like Toy Freddy or Rockstar Bonnie, so that's why they're above them. Honestly, Helpy is just a more fleshed out El Chip, due to him having more of a risk when you ignore him, that being pulling down your camera. However, it is pretty annoying to get rid of Helpy than El Chip, where you have to click on his nose in the office, distracting you from being on the camera or in the mask. Despite this, he's put in the spot due to him not jump scaring you at random, and not being as annoying to deal with than the other characters, even if he's a nuisance most of the time. Phone Guy is the same as Helby, but much less annoying, where his mute call button appears on the cameras and the office. Also, his mechanic feels very appropriate to his character than most of the other characters in the roster. However, I have to dock points because of how easy it is to get rid of him and being somewhat irritating to handle, but that depends on what you're dealing with. BB and JJ are pretty much the exact same character, where they both are preventable by wearing the masks, and they both disable an essential tool in your office for a period of time if you don't put it on quickly enough. The difficult thing about ranking them is that they don't have jump scares, so it was pretty hard to put them over each other at first, but I then decided to put JJ on top due to her being more significant when she enters the office, because she will disable the doors instead of BB, who would disable the flashlight instead. Now from 35 to 29, I'm going to categorize them together due to them all having the same mechanics they had in their previous appearances in the FNaF series, which makes it where I have to rank them by their jump scares instead. The order I put them in is as follows: Withered Bonnie, Toy Chica, Toy Bonnie, Nightmare Freddy, Nightmare Baby, Springtrap, and Scrap Baby. Freddy, Mangle, and Foxy also fit the category previously mentioned, where they have the exact same mechanic as they had in the older installments, but Scott decided to put a twist to them. Those twists were making Freddy more active when the office is warmer, Mangle having to be looked at with a close eye due to you having to close the snare door to stop her, despite having to use it once at a time, and Foxy building his body in the office when he leaves Pirate Cove, instead of just running towards you. This made me decide to put Foxy on top, then Mangle, and then Freddy, because Foxy had a bigger spin on his mechanic than the other two, and Mangle has a slightly more unique mechanic added to it than Freddy does. The next three animatronics were decided together as well, due to them having the same mechanic of having to buy their plushies in the store to make sure they don't appear in the office. The order of it being Mangle, Baby, and Nightmare Bonnie. And it has barely anything unique going for him, to be honest. He travels to your office from the vents, but you can't track him on the vent monitor. Instead, you have to hear him when he's about to attack. And everyone knows how much I love sound mechanics in FNaF. Nightmare Fredbear and Nightmare are here due to them having to use sound cues to be noticed and not being able to see them through the cameras. But they're above Ennard because you can actually be able to somewhat see them at your door with their eyes. The issue I had with placing them on the list was that they both had the same mechanic and jump scare. So I put Nightmare above Nightmare Fredbear just because he looks scarier. Molten Freddy is much more manageable than Nightmare, Nightmare Fredbear, and Ennard to some extent because you can track Molten Freddy by looking at the vent monitor and seeing where he is. But points are jocked due to having to use sound cues to track him, and overall being a real fast bugger to handle. Ballora has a pretty cool mechanic going for her, where she comes from either the left or right hallway and disables the camera feeds when she arrives. This helps to give the door mechanic a spin, no pun intended. But since she still has a generic door mechanic, I have to put it down a notch. Also, you need sound to know where she is. Great. Jacko Chica is the same as Ballora, but instead of using the dreaded sound mechanics, she comes when the office is above 100 degrees. Once you get the temperature below 100 degrees, you have to close both doors to get her away. This is pretty silly to add in, but I guess it's reasonable to make her less easy to deal with. But she is still easy since you just keep the office below 100 degrees, so that's why she's so low on here. Rockstar Freddy is this high on the list due to him not being that difficult to deal with. His mechanic is that he decides to wake up in your office and spam request you to give him 5 fast coins. He also isn't too annoying of a character to deal with because he actually waits for you to deposit the coins. It's pretty creative, but he has to be docked down due to fast coins being somewhat of a pain to get depending on what you activated, and being pretty easy to stop. For the next 5 animatronics, they all come from the vent system, but have their own ways to be prevented from entering the office. However, I'm still going to rank them by their jump scares since the difficulty isn't too different from each other. So it goes from Aurelie, the elephant one, Happy Frog, Ned Bear due to his goofy face, Pig Patch because of his banjo skills, and finally Mr. Hippo because his monologues are interesting.
And this is what I said to him. I said, Orville, the birds may be dead.
Alright, now to the top 10. Rockstar Chica is a pretty unique but standard animatronic to the rest. What she does is that she stands in either hallway and won't go away unless you double click on the wet floor sign to place it near the door of the hallway she's at. I find this to be a pretty cool take on the door mechanic honestly, as you're not annoying to deal with at all, but points are deducted because it's just a door mechanic but with a fresh take on it. With a Chica is basic at first, where you just have to block her from entering the vents, but she does do something that is, well, unique. Jesus, how many times have I said that word today? Basically what happens is that she gets stuck in the vent if you don't stop her early enough, causing the other animatronics to enter through the vents to not be able to enter the office, except for Mangle for some reason. While this may seem like a good tactic, it backfires once you realize she can wiggle out of the vent and jump scare you at random. Points for creativity, but not something that special to be in the top 5. William Afton is a curious character in the roster, where he only appears once and once only at your vent. Despite sounding pretty easy, you actually have to pay attention to what time he may strike. When he does appear, you only have a fraction of a second to shut the vent and make him go away. The way you know when he's there is if the lights flick in the office, and when you hear bumps in the vents. but even if he needs a sound cue to be identified, that doesn't stop him from being one of the most scariest animatronics in Ultimate Custom Night. Lefty, as a whole, doesn't really have much going for him in terms of standing out from the roster, where he stays in a closet and is activated if there's too much heat or too much noise from the office. But I find him to be somewhat creative when it comes to preventing him. You see, the way to prevent him is by using the global music box, since when he's activated he can't be stopped by the door. Despite Lefty not being the brightest of the bunch in terms of attack pattern, his way of being prevented from jump scaring you is out there, due to it having a risk and reward type shtick. Music Man is one of the two animatronics who actually uses sound cues really well. The other one we'll talk about later. Basically what Music Man does is that he smacks his tambourines behind you and claps them harder as the noise levels get higher until he eventually jump scares you. Sound cues are accepted on him due to actually making sense to his character. I mean, come on, his name is called Music Man. Of course he would have sound as part of his mechanic. Despite this, however, he'll stay low on my list due to him being pretty simplistic as a whole with his mechanic, and of course sound cues. I don't care if they use good, they're still a bitch to handle, Scott. Jig is the other and better animatronic who I think best uses sound cues in the roster. So what she does is that she bangs pots and pans in the kitchen area, and you have to hear the moment in which she falls silent. When that happens, you have to change the music of the music box, otherwise she'll kill you. I don't really have an issue with sound cues on her because I find that it's more creative than Music Man's sound cue gimmick. Still doesn't make me forgive Scott for using sound cues though. Old Man Consequences is probably one of the most original characters in this game because I think he's super creative. What his mechanic is that he appears as a minigame where you have to press C on the keyboard to make him catch a fish, and if you don't get the fish he'll disable your cameras temporarily. Yes, he's pretty much a copy of Helpy, but what makes him so unique is that he cannot be ignored, meaning you must perform the task at hand. Plus he's not that hard to get rid of, and is a higher risk than Helpy is to the cameras the second he appears on screen. Also, I think this is a me thing, but whenever his minigame pops up, I actually have fun doing it. Even if he doesn't have a jump scare and is a little annoying at times, he still has one of the most clever mechanics in the game. Funtime Foxy puts a fun, pun intended, spin on Foxy's mechanic of staring at Pirate Cove to stop him from coming, where instead he puts a sign up on his stage saying what time will come out and jump scare you if you don't look at him at that exact moment. This is honestly a really cool concept on the Pirate Cove gimmick, plus the time on the sign is randomized instead of being the same time all the time, making the mechanic even better and somewhat challenging to deal with in a good way. The issue with Funtime Foxy, however, is that his take on the Pirate Cove gimmick isn't that unique to get him up to second or even first for that matter, so he's in third place. Bonnie's mechanic is that he can appear in Pirate Cove, and when he does, he disables your camera at an instant. The way you can tell if he's there or not is if his figurine is on the desk and not Foxy's. The reason as to why Bonnie is the second highest animatronic is because he gives the generic Pirate Cove gimmick a more clever twist to it than Funtime Foxy, helping to keep it fresh than if it was just Foxy there. Also, I find the figurine placement a really neat idea to help you figure out who's there at the cove, and the punishment is actually fair in my opinion. Only reason he's at this rank is due to him not having a proper jump scare. Yeah, it makes sense as to why he doesn't have one, but it would have been scarier if he had a jump scare like the Phantoms or something. Now, even if you can just ignore him entirely, that won't stop me from putting Rockstar Foxy all the way to the top of the list. He's honestly not only the most original character, but he's also the most risky character in the whole roster. Basically what he does is that his parrot will fly into the office, and if you click on it, Rockstar Foxy will appear. Now he'll give you 4 beneficial options that will help you in the night, such as +1 power, setting the temperature to 60 degrees, making the office soundproof, and adding 10 fast coins to your counter. Now he may seem like a friend to you, but he can actually kill you. This occurs if you put his difficulty to a high level, making him have a higher chance of jump scaring you. You can tell this by seeing how frequently the parrot flies by your office, making the player think whether to click on it or not to get a benefit from Foxy. This is such a creative concept and is honestly the most unique mechanic out of any of the animatronics in Ultimate Custom Night. Yes, you can ignore him, making him irrelevant whilst playing the night, but I still love his gimmick and how he acts towards the player. So that's my Ultimate Custom Night rank list. If you think my opinion is absolute garbage, then please let me know in the comments or on Twitter, and subscribe for more. Okay, bye.